second day. Oh, hey. Just up here finishing up this roof. We're at the final stages of the first half. And yeah, it's really coming down to the wire here. We're just trying to get things wrapped up. And basically, I just got one more piece to add onto this side. And then we'll be done with this main section here. So there you have it. Got a couple more wires to button up and maybe a few more nails to pop in there. But I think all in all, it's pretty sturdy. And yeah, it should work out pretty good. So thanks for tuning in. We're going to put some more supports up here and get ready to start putting in that other side. Alright, so here we are. We got that tin roof up on half of it. And now we're going to build the other half, frame it up, and put up the rest of the roof, and then we can work on the walls. But it's important to line things up here so you kind of get as straight of line as possible. I'm not trying to be super perfect because the requirements for this aren't super strict, but if I was doing like cinder block or brick or maybe even like more of a traditional Western wooden frame, I would definitely be making sure everything's a lot more square. For this, I'm just using a string, and I'm just pulling my string tight, making sure it's starting on the side of the far post touching the side of the middle post, and then when I mount this up, it's also going to be touching the side of this post. And that's going to put these 3 posts all in a straight line. So that's one way to do it. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, put the string across, and that'll tell me exactly how far out, and then I can just measure 9 feet along that string and put the hole right there. And that will also set these posts to be in line with this to make it a square. So I'll double check for sure once I get the string over here and that post is mounted. Then I'm going to put the string, and I'm going to make sure that these are the same distance apart as those far 2 posts there, because looking at my roof, things got a little skewed somewhere, and I think it was this post right here ended up coming in a little bit more than I wanted to. It could have happened in the last little bit, or it could just be that far post isn't totally level because it kind of got whacked towards the end, and then the concrete dried up at a slight tilt. I didn't notice that it got hit by another beam when my ladder fell over early on in the construction. So now I've got this hole here. I dug it down 2 feet. So I'm going to mix up cement with gravel and sand, and I'm going to pour some concrete in here and set this post in concrete, and I'm going to bring it all the way up close to the surface. And that's going to prevent rot from setting in sooner and just increase the longevity of that post. So it should last quite a while with concrete in there. I've got these concrete up quite a bit, and there's a little bit of dirt at the top. Ideally you want concrete coming all the way out of the dirt, but I've just got those kind of gently covered for now, just to help the rain and stuff, so it didn't kind of go in there. And then once I pour the floor, I'm going to make sure it's capped with concrete as well. So that's basically how you do it. It's not totally perfect, but it's a good way to do a structure that's meant to be temporary. This is only going to be here for 3 to 5 years, maybe 10 at most. But we just basically need somewhere where we can stay and sleep over the next year or 2 or 3 years, because we're not really sure about what the future holds. But basically we want to have a structure that's here on this property so we can stay in it, that's quick and easy to build, while we build some multi-story buildings over here. So those are all going to be cinder block. We'll detail that in full, and that's also why we've got this cinder block or hollow block area set up that we're building over there. That's basically going to be behind the structure, so that's going to be like along that line there is where the back of the structure is going to be, and it's going to be coming up pretty close to the side of this. So we just kind of did some rough planning of the land, just that way we didn't like build or maybe like pour a bunch of concrete where we were going to build later. It's kind of why we've got things positioned where they are. And this is also nice that it's kind of in the middle. So now I'm going to keep working on this. I'm going to set this other post in here and set some mud to dry, and then I'll do a full recording of this last post here after that. So we also got some fruit trees here that we're going to be planting around, so stay tuned for that. Alright, so one of the more important things you're going to want to do when you're assembling a structure like this, or any structure really, is make sure that things are as level as possible. You want the roof to be pretty level, you want the posts to be plumb, and so you're going to definitely need one of these levels here. And in order to make sure that the height of each of my posts is the same, the first thing I did was I got one hole dug and I got the post in the ground. This is kind of the easy way of doing it, rather than pre-cutting everything and then making your holes all the exact same depth. But one of the problems you're going to run to, even if you do that, is that the ground is not going to be totally level. So in this case, the ground is pretty close, but it's actually a couple inches higher over there. On this side, it's a couple inches higher. You can tell by looking at the string. So what I did was I drew up a string, and I made sure that that string is perfectly level, or relatively close to level, as close as I can get it. And in order to do that, you got to make sure you pull the string really tight to remove the bow from it, because all strings are going to want to kind of sink down in the middle. And then once I did that, I measured from the string to the top of this post. That gave me 100 inches. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure that my post is 100 inches plus the string to the bottom of the hole. In that case, it was another 32 inches. So I wanted 132 inches, which is right about at 11 feet. So that means I'm going to take this next post here and I'm going to cut it down to 11 feet. Then I'm going to plant it in there, mix up my cement, and fill the holes. And what that's going to do is it's going to put the two tops of my posts within a really close proximity to each other. So now I just got to cut this post up and get it mounted. So I've measured my post from the bottom of the curve, which is where I measured on this one, which is where my bamboo is going to set into, to 11 feet, and I've marked it Okay, so now I've got my posts that will even out to be about the same height, irregardless of the levelness of the ground or the depth of my hole. Using that string is going to get me so my posts are both really close to being the same depth. Now I had one notch cut in this already, so just kind of show you how you do that here. Going to clean this up a little bit. This is pretty heavy. You don't want to use the light stuff for your corner posts. So you can see I've got a notch here. So basically I'm just going to be cutting it a slant, and that's going to naturally put a curve in here. I might take the saw, kind of flush this down so it's sitting on something nice and solid. And I got that side. And you don't want these to be too far away from the node. Ideally, you don't want the bottom more than 2 inches. In a perfect world, the bottom of the curve will basically be right at the node, and that's going to prevent the bamboo from splitting on you. Okay, so I've got my two bottoms about the same. Just kind of putting this top down a little bit. And I'm going to cut it off flat. Remove that sharp tip at the top. So I'm going to put tin that's kind of going over the top of this beam. There you go. Now my next piece of bamboo that I put on here is going to sit down in this chasm really nice. Kind of cut that edge off there, give me more of a flat surface. Now it's important when you're setting your post that you also line up these curves. You want to line up the notches so obviously where your post across the top is going to go is going to be able to sit into both of them. It's pretty easy to make that mistake since it's kind of far away from you, top of the post. But usually what I do is, while I'm putting it down in the mud, or the concrete I should say, I just come and take a step back and I kind of put them in line and I give them a look over so you can see that notch there at the top. I basically want to be hiding that post right behind this one, which it is now, and I want to be looking straight at that notch, so it kind of needs to twist just a tiny bit, but it's pretty close to where it needs to be, close enough that I can go ahead and place that mud and then just kind of do a final little adjustment afterwards. This one also needs a bit of a twist. You can see I haven't gotten any cement mix down in there yet. And then once that's done, I'll use my ladder. I'll put one side of my post up and then I'll use my ladder on the other side and walk up the ladder with the post, notch it in on the other side, and then I'll tie the wire. And the way you do that's a little bit different than like a typical lashing. And I'll kind of review that here once we get down to, I don't know if you can see those too well, but basically you wrap the wire around it a bunch of times and then you wrap it up and over around the top a bunch of times. So that's where we're at, and now I'm gonna get some mixing done, put some water in here, mix this up real good and fill these holes with some concrete.